Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Krishna Balarama, Jaya Krishna Balarama, Jaya Giri Govardha, Jaya Giri Govardha, Giri Govardha, Jaya Giri Govardha, Jaya Giri Govardha, Giri Govardha, Giri Govardha, Jaya Giri Govardha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Jaya Baladevi Subhadra, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladevi Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Prabhupada, Jaya 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Hari Hari Bol.
Sri Srimad, who's the 9 days. Boy, Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada ki Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Gandhi Biti, founder Charya of Divine Grace of the Prabhupada ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Anantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Nitai Gaur Bhimanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to see Guru and to see Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tirubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pabrebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil. And a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as a irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Sayalokasya Dhamyam Swasyayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita Gadadhara,
Shri Advaita Gadadhara,
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
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 Mukam karoti vasanam pagom langayate girim yadkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam yadkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Hare Krishna. Jai. Welcome. Welcome everyone to our morning ongoing Bhagavatam class, continuing from the first canto in a new chapter, just started 2 days ago, which is chapter 12, birth of Parikshit Maharaj. Yes. And today we're reading text number 4. Yes. Sutta Uvacha. Api Palad. Api Krishna. Api Palad. Dharma. Raja. Pitrivad. Ranjayan. Prajaha. Nisprihaha. Sarva. Kamebhyaha. Krishna. Padanusevaya. Sutta Uvacha. Api Palada Dharmaraja. Pittivad Ranjayana Prajaha. Nispriha Sarvakamebhya. Krishna Padanusevaya. Sutta Uvacha. Api Palada Dharmaraja. Pitrivad Ranjayana Prajaha. Nispriha Sarvakamebhya. Krishna Padanusevaya. Sutta Uvacha. Api Palada Dharmaraja. Pitrivad Ranjayan Prajaha. Nispriha Sarvakamebhya. Krishna Padanusevaya.
Sutta Uvacha Apipala Dharma Raja
Apipala Dharmaraja
Pitrivat Ranjayana
Pitrivadranjayan prajaha Nispriha sarvakamebhya Krishna padanusevaya Sutta uvacha
Apipala dharma rajaha Pitruvaranjayana prajaha Nispraha sarva kamebhya Krishna padanusevaya Sutta uvacha
Sutta uvacha
Apipala dharma raja
Apipala dharma raja
Pitruvadharajayana prajaha
Pitrivadranjayan prajaha
Nihaspriha sarva kamebhya
Nispriha sarva kamebhya
Krishna padanusevaya
Krishna padanusevaya Sutta uvacha Apipala dharma raja
Apipala dharma raja
Pitrivadranjayan prajaha
Pitrivadranjayan prajaha
Nispriha sarva kamebhya
Nispriha sarvakamebhya
Krishna padanusevaya
Krishna padanusevaya Sutta uvacha
Sutta uvacha
Sri Sutta Goswami said
Shri Sutta Goswami said
Apipalat administered prosperity
Administered prosperity
Dharmaraja
Dharma raja
King Yudhishthira
King Yudhishthira
Pitrivat
Pitrivat
exactly like his father
exactly like his father
Ranjayan
Ranjayan
pleasing
pleasing
Prajaha
Prajaha
all those who took birth
all those who took birth
Nisprihaha
Nispriha
without a personal ambition
without personal ambition
Sarva
Sarva
all
all
Kamebhyaha
Kamebhya
from sense gratification
from sense gratification
Krishna Pada
Krishna pada
the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna
the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna
Anusevaya
Anusevaya
by dint of rendering continuous service.
by dint of rendering continuous service.
We have a unique situation. You don't have to repeat that. We have a unique situation. How many devotees are attending the class this morning? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. So 6. Everyone from different place. Unique. Prabhupada's. Prabhupada. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Sri Sutta Goswami said,
Sri Sutta Goswami said,
Hare Krishna. In a few minutes you'll get a chance. Yes. Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. And now you can repeat. Now he's going away. Sri Sutta Goswami said,
Sri Sutta Goswami said,
Emperor Yudhishthira
Emperor Yudhishthira
administered generously
administered generously
to everyone during his reign.
to everyone during his reign.
He was exactly like his father.
He was exactly like his father.
He had no personal ambition
He had no personal ambition
and was freed
and was free
from all sorts of sense gratification
from all sorts of
Sense gratification.
because of his continuous service
because of his continuous service
unto the lotus feet
unto the lotus feet
of the Lord Sri Krishna.
of the Lord Shri Krishna.
Purport. As mentioned in our introduction, quote, this is introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a need for the signs of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world, and we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the signs of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society, and for the good of all the people of the world. End of quotation. Means we should present and arrange for all the leaders in the world to have a set of Srimad Bhagavatam and attend Bhagavatam class in the morning. Continuing the purport, so it is confirmed herein by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people hanker after Ram Rajya, also in Nepal. Yes, especially now. Because the personality of Godhead was the ideal king. And all other kings or emperors in India controlled the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living being who took birth on the earth. When one is emperor, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, emperor means emperor for the world. It's difficult maybe for us to imagine, but it means that India, Bharat, being the land of Dharma, is naturally meant to give protection of Dharma, to protect Dharma all over the world. Yeah. Herein, the word prajaha is significant. The etymological import of the word is, quote, that which is born, end of quote. On the earth, there are many species of life, from the aquatics up to the perfect human beings, and all are known as prajas. Lord Brahma, the creator of this particular universe, is known as the Prajapati because he is the grandfather of all who have taken birth. Thus, Praja is used in a broader sense than it is now used. The king represents all living beings, the aquatics, plants, trees, reptiles, birds, animals, and man. Every one of them is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And the king, being the representative of the Supreme Lord, is duty bound to give proper protection to every one of them. This is not the case with the presidents and dictators of this demoralized system of administration, where the lower animals are given no protection, while the higher animals are given so-called protection. Hare Krishna. Lower animals and higher animals. But this is a great science. Science. Vedic knowledge is based on science. Vedic education is based on science. Vedic knowledge, what is called traditional Vedic knowledge, Chatur Vidya, based on science. And science, especially because that science or that knowledge is given by Krishna, is perfect science. Yeah. Not modern day science, which is highly speculative. But this is a great science which can be learned only by one who knows the science of Krishna. And the science of Krishna is in italics here. Means that we cannot understand any of the other sciences properly, including material science. We cannot understand material science without knowing the science of Krishna. Because the material science is created by Krishna. And also because the material science, the material cosmic manifestation is working in ways which are inconceivable. That TOVP is meant to demonstrate how inconceivable is the whole cosmic manifestation, which is described in especially the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam and many other places. One devotee has been doing some in-depth study of what is called Vedic geography. Very interesting. Vedic geography is different from Vedic cosmology. Cosmology generally means the whole cosmic manifestation. This particular devotee, disciple of His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he's based in Australia. He's from Australia. Very interesting seminars he has been given. We should invite him sometime for when we give seminars, Varnashram semester. He's been taking information which is there in many different Puranas on Vedic geography. Geography. Yeah, geography of our planet, which is also, of course, containing information about Mount Sumeru and the whole presentation of Bhumandala. So this very important point here, that we cannot properly or fully, completely understand even material science, what to speak of spiritual science, without knowing the science of Krishna. By knowing the science of Krishna, one can become the most perfect man in the world. And unless one has knowledge in this science, all qualifications and doctorate diplomas, special message to people who are having PhD degree or are thinking or aspiring. All qualifications and doctorate diplomas acquired by academic education are spoiled and useless. Hare Krishna. Unless one has knowledge of the science of Krishna. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew the science of Krishna very well, for it is stated here that by continuous cultivation of this science, or by continuous devotional service to Lord Krishna, he acquired the qualification of administrating the state. So that's in the text and also again repeated by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Continuous cultivation of this science is equivalent to continuous devotional service to Lord Krishna. We cannot properly continue cultivating the science of Krishna consciousness unless we are continuously engaged in the Lord's devotional service. Therefore, satatam kirtayantomam, satatam. And to continue and finish the purport here, the father is sometimes seemingly cruel to the son, but that does not mean that the father has lost the qualification to be a father. A father is always a father because he always has the good of the son at heart. The father wants every one of his sons to become a better man than himself. And therefore, a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the personality of goodness, wanted everyone under his administration, especially human beings who have better developed consciousness, to become devotees of Lord Krishna, so that everyone can become free from the trifles of material existence. His motto of administration was all good for the citizens, for as personified goodness, he knew perfectly well what is actually good for them. He conducted the administration on that principle and not on the Rakshasi, demonic principle of sense gratification. As an ideal king, he had no personal ambition, and there was no place for sense gratification because all his senses at all times were engaged in the loving service of the Supreme Lord, which includes the partial service to the living beings who form the parts and parcels of the complete whole. Those who are busy rendering a service to the parts and parcels, leaving aside the whole, only spoil time and energy, as one does when watering the leaves of a tree without watering the root. If water is poured on the root, the leaves are enlivened perfectly and automatically. But if water is poured on the leaves only, the whole energy is spoiled. Maharaj Yudhishthira, therefore, was constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, and thus the parts and parcels of the Lord, the living beings, under his careful administration were perfectly attended with all comforts in this life and all progress in the next. That is the way of perfect management of state administration. Translation again, Sri Shuta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. So, although the title of the chapter is Birth of Emperor Parikshit, we are getting a glimpse of the qualities of Emperor Yudhishthira, because it is King Yudhishthira who will be anointing and establishing Parikshit Maharaj. Some 30 years after the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra, isn't it? Battle of Kurukshetra had re-established King Yudhishthira Maharaj as the emperor of the world, and he ruled for approximately 30 years, which was the time that Lord Krishna continued his lila, pastimes, on the planet. And then, as it is narrated in the Bhagavatam, having sent Arjuna to Hastinapur, not Hastinapur, to Dwarka, he came to know that the Lord has wound up his pastimes, and then he established Parikshit Maharaj, who was approximately 30 years of age, as the next emperor, and then he left. So it is very clearly established and explained here how without good administration in a country, the citizens cannot be properly protected. And by citizens, from the Vedic point of view, citizens are not only those who are having a birth certificate and registered in the government, but anyone who is born, praja. Kings were referred to as prajapati, pati, father of those who are taking birth in the kingdom. So trees, insects, plants, aquatics, etc., they're all praja. And the primary purpose and goal for such a qualified Vedic king means someone who knows what is the purpose of life, is to give opportunity for all living entities born within his kingdom to actually make some progress in Krishna consciousness, especially human beings who have the ability to cultivate this higher consciousness. And the basic, primary, fundamental qualification for such a king is that he knows the science of Krishna. And that is why someone like, it's very interesting actually, when the Prime Minister of India, this was brought out actually in various newspapers, soon after becoming the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, whenever he would visit a country and meet the state of head, president or prime minister, he would give them, in all the places he would visit, he would give them a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, telling very clearly this is actually the greatest treasure of India, because it has this knowledge, transcendental knowledge. And we will begin to see actual progress or actual positive changes in society when those who are in administrative positions, this is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also mentioned, when we will see the High Court judge wearing tilak, then we can expect some fair judgment. Because he was, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was himself performing that service in Krishnanagar. They had arranged, I think it's still there, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying right behind us, actually, in was it Godram Dweep? Godram Dweep, near Surabhikunj. And there's a small railway track very close to his house, and they would take him to Krishnanagar to do his duties as magistrate. Yeah. So there is a need. Prabhupada quotes actually the beginning, very nice, powerful purport in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, describing how this knowledge of the Bhagavatam should be introduced in all the schools and colleges. A few years back, actually, one chief minister, I forget which state, maybe Madhya Pradesh, one of the states in India, he had kind of boldly declared that, in our state, Bhagavad Gita needs to be introduced in our different educational institutions, because it is not, he understood it nicely, it is a universal book of knowledge, as we know, as Prabhupada has nicely explained. So that is, when such a qualified material and spiritual leader is taking responsibility in some country, or at whatever level. It begins actually from the village level. Every village is meant to have what is called a village head, a leader. Actually, we have a few here in India. We have a few village leaders who are actually devotees. When I was in Europe, actually, I had gone from Czech Republic. I was going to Ukraine. We stopped in one village on the border, I think it was Ukraine side, no, Czech Republic. Small village, maybe not more than like a couple of hundred people, but the head of the village was a devotee. Huh. Some years back in Ukraine, not Ukraine, in Hungary, isn't it also? In the local village where Krishna village is located, I think two of the members of the local council were devotees. Yeah. The Radha Krishna Prabhu was one of them. Yeah. So these are like, it's not on a large scale at this point, but actually this is, we can get a little glimpse of things to come, because that is meant to be. Very clearly explained how, and it's very logical also. Unless we are having proper knowledge actually means perfect knowledge. And from where does one get perfect knowledge? From perfect Shastra. The Vedas are very unique in that respect. And it is for this reason that we should be very serious in presenting this Vedic knowledge. Prabhupada, he wrote it in the first of his seven purposes of ISKCON, to systematically introduce and spread the teachings of Vedic knowledge. So therefore, this is just being reconfirmed here in the example of Yudhisthira Maharaj, who was that very qualified personality, both spiritually qualified. Here it mentions that he was in the mode of goodness. We know he was above the mode of goodness. The whole Vedic culture actually is to bring at least people towards the mode of goodness. And then of course beyond. You see, Maharaj was a pure devotee, Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava. So he was in the mode of pure goodness. And only such an individual knows how to actually arrange society in such a way that people will be getting that opportunity to rise from the lower modes of nature. And the clue, of course, is given in the purport itself and in the text by continuous devotional service. Ahaitukiya pratihata. Ahaitukiya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. That is the definition in the first canto, chapter Divinity and Divine Service. Sabai pumsam paro dharmo jatho bhakti radhok saje. Hey, let them hear Bhagavatam. Ahaitukiya pratihata yagatma suprasidati. For the atma, for the body, for the mind, for the intelligence, for all of the different needs, bodily needs, psychological needs, social needs, spiritual needs. That is the formula. Same thing also in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Dharmamulam hi bhagavan sarva vidamayo harihi smritam chat vidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. For all the material and spiritual necessities to be met nicely, properly, then dharma mulam hi bhagavan, the essence of dharma is to know Hari, and Hari is Krishna. And the business, this is nicely explained by Narada Muni, Smritam Sha Tadvidam Rajan. Oh my dear king, he's talking to Yudhisthira Maharaj also. My dear king, the way to properly execute one's human form of life is by smritam cha, smriti, by constantly remembering what is our duty, what is our responsibility. And by, therefore, if we remember that, we are more naturally, more easily being able to engage ourselves in uninterrupted and unmotivated service, devotional service to Krishna. So it means that actually we cannot avoid Krishna, just like Prabhupada, as we know, when choosing the name for International Society, there were some associates or some people were telling, better not to mention Krishna, people don't know is Krishna. People know God. International Society for God Consciousness. No, it has to be International Society for Krishna so that people can come to know who is God. Isn't it? So that's why also now we're to know about Krishna, one should also know about what is Vaishnav, Vaishnavism. And that was a great benediction and a great service rendered by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He purified that name which had actually become contaminated. The word Vaishnavism, and in particular the word Vaishnavi. It's very interesting actually. The word Vaishnavi, 150 years ago in general society, meant prostitute. Oh, she's a Vaishnavi. She's a prostitute. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to preach very, because it was people in the name of Vaishnavism, they were engaged in all kinds of sinful activities actually, using the name of Mahaprabhu, using the process and the method of bhakti, etc. It's still ongoing, but much less than not 500 years ago, but during the time of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So therefore, that is the business of devotees, to give the proper meaning and understanding of God, of Krishna, that God is not just some kind of vague idea or term. God is actually a person known as Krishna. Yeah. So, in a similar way, we also have to somehow work at presenting the proper understanding of Varnashrama. That's our challenge right now, because Varnashrama is like some people don't even want to say the word Varnashrama. They say, don't speak about the V word, the V word. Krishna uses Varnashrama. I mean, Krishna created. So, the science, the complete science, this is what Srila Prabhupada in presenting the nectar devotion, the complete science of bhakti, the complete science of Krishna consciousness. And these are the foremost literatures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that are meant to be nicely introduced. I'm reading once more the translation, and then if there's any question or comment. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like a father. He was exactly like his father, rather. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. Any comments or questions? Yes.
So regarding Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was a perfect king, perfect Kshatriya.
Yes.
But today's world, if nowadays we have in most of the countries there is democracy,
Yes.
how
How
can where do devotees fit in?
can
They have to become politicians in order to be called as Kshatriyas.
Okay. So the question is, in our modern day society, where we have democracy, how to go about establishing or having qualified kings? Yeah. Do the devotees have to take to politics, or what? Or what is the process? Yeah. In the early days, actually, Prabhupada had allowed the devotees to have a political party called In God We Trust. You know that? In God We Trust, yeah. In America. Some devotee. It's right there in the, dollar bill. In God We Trust party. I met some of the devotees who were involved with that party. It went on for some time. And our devotees were not quite ready, so Prabhupada stopped it at that time. So the idea is that there are two ways actually of bringing about righteousness. I mean, truthfulness, which is the first of four pillars of dharma. Satyam. Satyam daya tapa saucham. These are the qualities, these are the principles that are meant to be established and can only be established by proper leadership. So there are two ways of actually establishing, in the present context of democracy. One is by approaching those who are in those positions of leadership, and whoever is receptive, encouraging them to take Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and to actually cultivate this knowledge. In other words, those who are already existing in positions of leadership, by coming in contact with this knowledge, by associating with devotees and taking up the process, they can become qualified leaders, even within the system of democracy. Prabhupada one time mentioned that in democracy today, just increase the number of devotees, then they will be able to vote someone who's a devotee. if you have majority of people voting who are devotees, then you can elect or select your own leaders. That is one way. The other is to have actually to train, and Prabhupada very much wanted that we do this in the context of Varnashram College. Prabhupada wanted that we train individuals, devotees, who are qualified, the three levels of leadership, qualified Brahmana, qualified Kshatriya, and qualified Vaishya. And therefore he wanted that we spell out, work out, formulate a curriculum for these three areas of leadership. And that is one of the critical and important reasons why Varnashram colleges are very much needed. Because we may have the largest number of brahmanas on the planet. We don't now. Well, we may have at some particular point, but unless we are able to create kshatriyas, because it's not the brahmana's responsibility to administer the state, the affairs of the state. Yeah. So brahmanas, if they're actually qualified, will be able to create kshatriyas. Will be able to create create kshatriyas means introduce kshatriya culture, introduce Vaishya culture, introduce Shudra culture. That's also culture. There are 9 qualities for someone to become a good Shudra. Good Shudra means actually good servant. That's another word which is tainted, which is not popular. Shudra. Yes.
We have a interesting example in the early days of ISKCON, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
Yes.
He has the capacity of becoming a political leader according to the biography, and he decided to become devotee. But then later he started such programs by which he became an advisor of leaders.
Yes.
And in 2 places, in USA and in Africa.
Yes, yes.
So many kings of Africa turned to him, and they invited him to come and help them to work out some situations. So he was like nominated as a king. I don't know what is his name, but it's very interesting. If someone have a capacity as a devotee, it's quickly it's just well known, and in some areas where he started to really preach nicely and properly.
Yes.
And that gives a lot of changing in that person's life.
Yes. Yes, that is one example.
In the modern day context, like even if somebody becomes an MP, or member of parliament or MLA,
Yes.
in the Vedic point of view, they are considered to be brahmanas, isn't it? Because they do not rule, but they.
No, MPs are kshatriyas.
MPs are.
I mean, anyone who is in
They
administration.
make the laws.
Huh?
They only make the laws. They make the laws in the
Law department is kshatriya department, no. But within government, there are advisors who will be more of a.
Not part of the government. They should not be maintained by the government. That's the point. What was a mistake of some brahmanas who joined to the Dhritarashtra's party, because they were maintained and they couldn't really act like a brahmana.
Yeah, brahmanas are meant to be totally independent.
That was why Rupa Goswami and Santa Goswami have difficulties. they was invited to become the ministers. They were Brahmanas, but they lose all this Brahmana reputation. They started to look like a dog.
Yes.
It's like a dog work if you are supporting some kind of king by your service.
Yeah. So, so within government, the Kshatriyas, they are the ones who are ruling, but they will be. That is the meaning of being guided by those who are Brahmanas. Brahmanas will also be part of government in terms of being administrators, but they should not be, as you mentioned, they should not be financially supported. They are meant. Otherwise, it's like they cannot. Brahmana is proper Brahmana, qualified Brahmana has to be always independent.
Yeah, Chanaka Pandit was living outside of the palace area, and the king should go to him. The king wanted him to come in. He told, "I will give you a nice place," but he told, "No, no, no.
Right.
I have enough.
Yeah.
This Tamil tree is enough for me."
Yes.
That's the way how they remains really independent.
And light also he used in personal light in government.
And that is why many years ago, when Srila Prabhupada was was having actually an interview with at that time Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister of India. So Prabhupada had a list of 10 requests, 10 points, and one of them actually was that the ministers attend Srimad Bhagavatam class before they go to Parliament. Otherwise, how they will rule if they don't know the science, Vedic science, which is there in the... yeah. So that's why one day governments around the world need to adopt what is called the concept and the principles of dharma, because dharma is universal and it's not based simply on one religion or another. Because these principles of dharma are known and come from India, and India is primarily identified as Hindu culture, people equate dharma with Hinduism. Dharma is there within Hinduism, but the very, as Prabhupada explains, the very word Hinduism is not something that we find actually in Vedic Shastra. What we find is we are Sanatanists, we are followers of Sanatan Dharma. We means not only those who are from India, but actually everyone in the world is meant to be follower of Sanatan Dharma.
Yeah. So that's not a question where, in which place you take birth, or in which nation you are part of, but the consciousness. So there are chandalas, there are different lectures. They have also dharma. If they don't follow their own dharma, they will fall down deeper and deeper into ignorance. That happened when there was no emperor of the world. The emperor didn't force the same rules on the different type of persons. They had to maintain their own dharma.
Yeah, in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports that the duty and responsibility of a king is that if you profess to be a Christian, you have to follow the rules of Christianity. If you profess to be a Buddhist, you have whatever religion you are following, that needs to be followed properly. And there needs to be a proper understanding, and that is not always there, of what actually Prabhupada would often explain how in Christianity the first commandment is thou shalt not kill. No, not thou shalt not murder.
The fourth one.
Huh?
There's a fourth one, as I know.
Or the fourth one. What's the first one? Honor your father.
Yeah, on your father.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it begins actually, as Prabhupada very clearly pointed out in the purport, it begins with, and it cannot succeed without, one learning the science of Krishna. And the science of Krishna is means Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge at one point needs to be understood and accepted as knowledge which is of an eternal nature, which is not the same with other teachings have come at a particular time in history, which is not the case for Vedic knowledge. Yeah.
In the devotee communities, are temple presidents, GBC members, are they considered to be Kshatriyas or Brahmanas?
Whether the leaders in our different communities, including temple presidents and GBC members, whether they are Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, it's a mixture. It's a mixture, but the actual anyone who's actually engaged in administration is it is a Kshatriya duty and responsibility, and that's why at some point it was recommended and may still be also a point of discussion that to administer to the affairs of the society, being primarily an administrative role, then it should be Kshatriyas, as opposed to, for example, many of our GBC members, I don't know the percentage, but are sannyasis. Not only are they sannyasis, but they're also gurus. So that raises some, what is called, at times, possible conflict of interest. That's why at one point the understanding was that actually only grihasthas should be GBC members. Because in society, generally, it is the grihasthas that become rajas, kings. Bhishmadev was an exception. He was Kshatriya leader, but generally it is, in the role of grihastha. UP also an exception.
In making privacy and policy and other things.
Huh?
Policy and other things. Who make us
Policy. For?
national policy, politics policy and other things.
Yes.
This type of work like Brahmana, we doing this.
If we're talking about legalities, legalities is Kshatriya. Lawyers, Kshatriya. Advisors, Brahmana. Yeah. Whether the laws are in pursuance or in conformity with Vedic knowledge, that needs to be verified by Brahmanas. Yeah. Yeah.
But interesting that Vidura was empowered to decide whether some decision is according to the law or not. So he was a kind of prime minister, but when any decision happened, he's supposed to say it's correct according to the Shastra or not. And he was practically not a Kshatriya, but because of the quality, he knew the Shastra and he was his behave, he become a prime minister.
Right.
But his duty was not to decide for everyone, but he was just controlling other ministers or other leaders to act according to the dharma,
Right.
like the king himself.
The kings also are meant to know dharma, but the brahmanas know more deeply, because the brahmanas, they spend more time in Gurukul. That is their area of specialization, the study, deep study, profound study. Kshatriyas also know dharma, but they spend less time, and their forte or their area of expertise is practical application of dharma under the guidance of qualified brahmanas. Kshatriyas, they protect, they administer, and they provide in times of need. Yeah. Protection, administration, welfare.
And there are different type of brahmanas. Some have a full knowledge and some have partly. So
Yeah.
if they are present, that also how much voice they have.
Yes.
That also depend on the level of knowledge. And they could also have arguments.
Yes.
Court.
Some knew one Veda, some knew two Vedas, some were Trivedi, some were Chaturvedi, some different. Some were just Purohit, doing Jagya, knowing mantras, some were preachers. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sridham Prabhupada ki, Gauda Pimanande.
Yeah.